We are making mitered corners today. Welcome to Where Wendy Creates. I am so excited. We are making this Christmas quilt today. And my friends, every last one of these borders are mitered. So let's get to it, have some fun, and make some mitered corners. So we are mitering. So we brought in our 6-inch by, looks like 24-inch ruler. And we're laying it across on our previous seams, just on our previous seams that we have done, and laying it straight across. And this is going to be how we sew. So this is our sew line. So when we eventually trim it, it's going to be that extra 1/4 inch out here. So we're just lining it out. We've got it on the ironing board. We've pressed it flat. And now we're going to go ahead and chalk our line. And again, this is our stitch line. We are not cutting off the extra. We'll actually sew it the way it is and then trim it off after it is sewn. And I was just asked what we are sewing. So just to take this over and show you that we have lined up both of these pieces. So this is our corner piece, just like we showed it laid out on the bed. Now we're going to do our line, and before we move it, we are going to pin it so that our two pieces that are lined perfectly up do not move. And we have used our handy dandy beautiful little pin cushion and put pins in. We'll pull them as we get to them once we stitch. And we've brought our piece in that we're going to sew across. So excited. It all looks so perfect so far. Okay, so we have our seam allowances and we're pushing them up right, which we've already stuck under the sewing machine. And so we're holding them all right, and where we ended on the previous is where we're going to start our stitching here. Okay, so we're taking our seams and we're pushing them up instead of how they were pressed down, because we want to get to that last seam spot where we last stitched, and that's where we're going to start our chalk line. And if you can see, it's a pencil line, and that pencil line is right here. So we're going to move it back up here to show, and that's where we're going to start sewing, is right above that where the fabric first starts, to continue our line up there. And we're just darkening our pencil line. So we're going to make sure we sew straight on that line. We'll remove our pins as we get there. And we just want our needle to go exactly down on that mark. So we're putting our pin down before we put our foot down. Super slow so we stay right on that line, and we're keeping our fingers real close to the line and to the stitching, so we make sure we're perfectly smooth and aligned on that line.
And we don't want to flip the seams.
And that's Sylvia, and she's our expert doing the sewing today. And obviously we want to be really careful of our seams on the top and the bottom. And yes, we used a pencil line instead of a chalk line. It worked better on this fabric, and it's very precise. All right, so we're knotting our stitches to the end, and the big reveal comes next.
And we're going to hope that the fabric did not slip and we have a smooth seam to look at.
All right.
Okay, let's see what.
And if not, we pull our stitches and try it
again.
again.
That's right.
Oh, I'm loving this. Hold on. How are we doing? I'm loving this, right?
We're off a little bit here.
Oh my goodness, to me that's perfect.
But that's not much. But we are off just a touch here and there. But looks pretty.
All right.
And
first mitered corner down, 3 more to go.
And of course we'll cut this back off now once that seam is done.
So Sylvia, are we going to press it now and go ahead and cut it off, or what do you mean when the seam is done?
The seam is done, so now we press and we trim the excess away.
All right. Very good. I'm so excited. This is so gorgeous. And we're going to lay this right back out, and we're going to use our ruler and our rotary and trim off the excess from that mitered corner. And no, my friends, nothing ever goes to waste. We will put the leftover on a scrappy quilt, or maybe even a Christmas quilt, as this is a holly, and this is a Christmas quilt, right, Sylvia?
Yep.
Yes.
This is Christmas.
Okay, so we're just going to hold down that, oh, and it moved. Hold down that ruler. And
thread
I'm sorry,
right there.
I did not change our rotary blade yet.
That's okay.
All right. And see, my friends, we've got a very nice large 1/4 inch there. We'll press this when we're ready, and we are ready for the next corner.
And look what we have left over to go in something different.
Oh, it's so gorgeous. Absolutely. I love it. We could sew that together and have a beautiful block.
Yes, we could.
There we go. Okay, rock and roll. Okay, so we have our neck seam angled out. We've used the ruler following the existing seam on the quilt. We've placed our pins, and now we're ready to take it over to the sewing machine. Okay, we've come over to the sewing machine. We're using the existing seam line. We've pulled up our seams and pressed them, and now we're ready to sew on our line that we've drawn. Sylvia, any other pointers that you wanted to share?
Sometimes what you can do is, as you're lining it up, you can, if you have multiple layers like this, you can fold it back to make sure they're, let's
Lined
take
up,
it here,
okay.
that they're lining up.
That's perfect. That makes sense, and that way you know you're on the right track.
Yes, but if your 1/4 inch seams have been off even a thread, it might not line up perfect.
That is perfect, and that is why some quilters say that each block needs to be done by the same sewing machine, the same person, because our eyes are all a little bit different, and believe it or not, we blame our sewing machine feet saying they're a little bit different, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why my sewing machine foot, it keeps changing sizes. And I know if you're like me, you hate going really, really slow, but slow and steady wins the race is the phrase they used to like to say. And slow is accurate, accurate is slow. And some seamstresses or new sewers have asked me why I use marker or pencil on my quilts. Well, the pencils that I have used, or the markers I've used, are on the back side of the fabric. They're at the cutting line, or they're at the sewing line. So these marks are never, ever, ever going to show on the front of the kitchen item or the quilt or anything, the purse that we're sewing. So it's okay to use pencil or marker as long as it's never, ever going to bleed and it's never, ever going to show on our final product. And if somebody looks at the back of a quilt and you haven't finished quilting it, yeah, that looks bad. So just keep it on the sewing lines, the cutting lines, and you'll be just fine. Oh, I'm so excited. I cannot wait to see this quilt done. So now if I'm correct, we press it, cut it, press it, and then we lay it on the bed and show everybody what our beautiful four corners look like.
Yes.
Yay! And we're pressing what we've just sewn to set our seam, and then we'll open it up and press it open.
Okay. Now.
And the big reveal.
And of course, that part you see out here will be cut off. We'll cut it just a little bit beyond our seam to give us a good 1/4 inch. And there we go. How's that, folks?
Oh my goodness, I love it. Now we press it now before we cut it, or we cut it and then press it?
I like to press it right now, cut it, and then I actually press it again to open up that back seam.
Sweet.
That way it feels right. And it does.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Okay, now let's...
Okay, so we're lining up the, what, the 1/4 inch or the 1/2 inch?
I generally go a little over a 1/4, but not quite a full half.
Okay.
Oops.
And then we can weight that down with some weights or hands.
And since I've got you here, I'm going to let your hand be part of it.
I thought I could help.
Okay.
Measure twice, cut once, my friends.
Right.
Measure twice.
Put your hand on it.
And keep your fingers back away from the blade. Back away from the edge of the ruler. Okay, and while Sylvia is taking that back over to the iron, I just wanted to show you the pieces that we cut off. These can be put together, made into a square. Maybe if we have the red, we can go ahead and finish that with an outside border, and then add some more to make a pillow. And she has 4 sets of these because 4 corners are being mitered. So that means she actually can do 2 pillowcases or 2 fronts of pillows. So I'm very excited. Because she says she's going to put 2 of these together per pillow. Yay! Beautiful. Perfect. Okay, and our beautiful quilt is done. Of course, this is a smaller quilt than I have the bed, so it doesn't show lapping over at the bottom. You see my Christmas quilt, but here you see the beautiful mitered corners, and up at the top, and over here, just absolutely divine. Oh my goodness, this whole thing out from the panel is just strips, my friends, and every single one is a mitered corner. Sylvia, well done. Well done. Absolutely gorgeous, my friends. Yay! Have a great day. Don't be afraid to miter those corners, my friends.